Hey, what's going on out there, people? This is Big B, Brian Hanley, and welcome back to Let's Talk Ball. Technology or evolution? Which is it? Which is most responsible? Clearly, there's both of them have a lot to do with either yesteryear or today's athletes in the future. Which era, which sport? Let's dive into all of it and let's figure this out together because I got a lot of ideas. I've got a lot of people that gave me some feedback. A lot of it is nonsense. So we won't be divulging any of that to you guys, some of the nonsense that I received. But let's talk about it a little bit. Let's figure this out. Let's talk ball.
Broken up by Tatum. Tipped off. Rachel Harris has it. Here's Jordan. Secretariat has opened a 22-length lead. Fly ball deep left field. Yes, there she goes. Touchdown. He did what? Yes, LeBron James. It is a grand salami. Bo Jackson unloads on this one. Touchdown! No! There's nothing real in the world anymore. No! Mike Jones made the tackle.
I wish I was 50 years younger and I'd kick you.
Ortiz in the deep right field. Down goes Frazier. He is Mr. November. Touchdown Titans. There are no flags. Curry for the lead. Perfect.
First thing is, like I said, my criteria pretty much for everything, and I'll keep giving this disclaimer after World War II. Again, I know what you're going to say. Hey, Brian, sports happened before World War II. How come you just dismiss it? That's, again, because all the best athletes were not allowed to be included. I know I sound like a broken record, and I'm going to continue to sound like a broken record. That's just the facts. Now, you may not want to agree with that or not, but those are the facts. The best athletes were not included before World War II. So that's my starting point. It's going to be my starting point for pretty much everything. And that's just the way that it is. And since this is my podcast, we're going to do what I want to do. Now, digging in a little bit, let's talk about the sports. So some of the sports, that kind of go without question. I've got some people you think, oh, what about swimming? Or what about tennis? And well, let's think about swimming. I mean, I'm not going to spend a lot of time on swimming because it's not something I know about. Although, if you know me, I'm like Shamu in the water. Okay. You get me out there. Hey, I'm like Shamu. And regardless of the myth that the brothers out there, the brothers that we can't swim, this guy can get around in that water a little bit. All right. So let's just understand that when I talk about swimming. I am a brother that can swim. There. Deal with it. But swimming, well, I mean, there's a certain strokes, freestyle, the backstroke, breaststroke, butterfly, you got your strokes. But how does technology really, well, maybe look at a swimmer 30 years ago or 40 years ago and look at one now. I'm not saying that they're super huge or anything like that, but the muscle mass and things of that nature is totally different. Totally different. Not to mention, as a swimmer, you're one of the most in shape people in the world. Again, a fact, not something up for debate, not something that, well, you never know. And no. That's a fact. So the technology part of it, you have to think, hey, it's more, in my opinion, it's more the evolution side. Guys, bigger, faster, stronger. And again, that's part of evolution. Bigger, faster, stronger. I apologize. I should have said that from the beginning. Evolution side, people are just bigger, faster, and stronger today than what they were 25, 30, 40, 50 years ago. They just are. We just are. I'm not saying that people were born that way, but they're just produced. I mean, people are just bigger, faster, stronger. It's just the way that it is. Now, again, going back to swimming, I think it's more the evolution side because although the technology part and the technical aspects of each stroke. And it's not like guys can't get better and things of that nature. Having said that, it's more of an evolution where guys are just bigger, guys and gals. They're just bigger. They're just faster. They're just stronger. They just are. So that's my spiel. That's my take on the swimming aspect of it. Take a sport like tennis. Now, tennis, it gets to be a little bit more tricky because you think about tennis, you think, okay, well, look at Venus. Look at Serena. Look at them. Look how big they are. Look how strong they are. And you're right. They're bigger, but that's them. Those girls, especially Serena, she is just bigger. She's just a bigger athlete. But you look at on tour, the girls, for the most part, aren't just bigger girls. I mean, they're not out there just gigantic girls. They may be tall, but there were tall players before. I go, but then you also think about Martina Navratilova. She wasn't just some small lady out there, messing around playing tennis. That wasn't her. She wasn't some little lady. Matter of fact, when she really became Martina was when she started doing all the weight training and all those things to get you bigger, stronger, faster. It wasn't until then that she became Martina. And she'll admit it. She knows it. That's when she became the best. And at the time, she was the best. But for me, breaking down tennis pretty much is easy. Tennis is a technology advancement. And the reason why you could say, oh, well, Serena would crush a Billie Jean King, or she would crush, first of all, don't say she's just going to crush Billie Jean King. People don't understand how good Billie Jean King was, or Martina Navratilova, or Chris Everett Lloyd, or Steffi Graf. I'm not saying Serena's not the best ever, because I believe that. But that doesn't mean she's just going to dominate them every time that she plays. That's just not something that I believe. And to top off all of that, the one thing is they used to use wooden rackets. Now think about that. Wooden rackets. How good would Serena be if she had to use a wooden racket? I mean, just that's a technology thing. That's not just, hey, I'm a bigger, faster, stronger person. That's technology. How much harder can you hit the ball? How much more topspin or backspin can you hit a ball with when you're using titanium versus wood? I mean, do we even have to have that discussion? Apparently we do, because some people have tried to say that tennis, it's all evolution and there's no technology as a part of it. That's some of the feedback that I've got. It's just so nauseating. But I digress. So tennis, clearly a technology driven sport as far more than evolution. The next one, let's look at boxing. Now, I'm a boxing person, as I've mentioned in previous podcasts. I'm a boxing person. I believe, like I said before, that boxing only needs a heavyweight, a good one, a charismatic heavyweight. And boxing would be right back in this country, because in America, we love it. We love boxing. We do. We love it. We just want there to be a good heavyweight. And that's just the way it is, because we and the world, for the most part, believes that the world heavyweight champion is the baddest man on the planet. We need that again. We need that back. So that's what we're waiting on. So let's dig into boxing, the evolution or technology. Well, you look at the heavyweight division right now, the guys are giants. Oh my goodness. I mean, guys are 6'5", 6'6", 6'7". You had the Klitschko's. I mean, they were huge. These people are gigantic out here. 6'9" people with fury. I mean, the guys are gigantic. So that's an evolution thing. Or is it? Again, the technology part of boxing Does that come into play? Well, I mean, you can talk about glove size and you can talk about the different, approaches to boxing and, the styles and footwork, but it's, to me, it's more of an evolution thing. And I tend to lean and want things and we'll get into that here in a second. But technology to me is a huge part of everything that we do, because you could say, well, evolution, Brian, bigger, faster, stronger. And just like we're talking about with boxing, I go, but technology, somebody's brain's got to be able to think of that they weren't thinking about before, right? And that would be part of the evolution part of technology too. So it kind of all ties together. But with boxing, I think it's more of an evolution thing. Guys are bigger. They're not the best athletes out there for the simple reason that more athletes are not boxing. They're playing football or they're playing basketball. They're doing other stuff. So that's why boxing, kind of is in the shape that it is. That's a different topic and we've had it and we'll go back into it at another time too. But as far as the evolution side, I think boxing is more of an evolution sport. Guys are just bigger. They're different. Body types are bigger. I know we could talk about the smaller division, but those guys are bigger. They're quicker. I mean, boxing is an evolution sport. It just is. It's an evolution, driven sport. Now, the next one that's a real touch and go one is baseball. You can say, well, baseball players aren't bigger, faster, stronger. Well, first of all, that's a lie because all baseball players are big. First of all, what was there, a 20-year period where guys were taking steroids? So they were bigger, faster, stronger. That would be number one. Okay? And you can't convince me today the guys still aren't taking some sort of steroid or something. Because the penalty and guys still do it. So that means how many people are just not getting caught? That would be the big difference. So guys are still out there doing it. The difference is the guys just aren't being caught. So the guys are bigger, faster, stronger. You know that going into it. You already know that. You look at people from the 40s, or late part of the 40s, again, World War II. And they're just bigger, faster, stronger. Guys will take better care of themselves. That is something that is universal. People taking better care of themselves. What I mean by that is my wife is a Kansas City Chiefs fan. And a friend of hers every year sends a picture to her through Facebook of Lynn Dawson on the sideline, got a beer sitting on the ground in front of him and smoking a cigarette during a football game. Now, I'm not saying that he was, singularly the only one doing it. I'm just saying that was part of the times. 60s and 70s, guys are drinking beer, smoking cigarettes in the game. Not, hey, we're going out. We're going to have some fun. We're going to party a little bit. No. During the football game, I need a beer and I need a cigarette. That's how I get down. That's how I take care of myself. Give me a pack of Cools and a 6-pack, and I'm good. I don't need no Gatorade. First of all, there wasn't even Gatorade. I don't need no water. Just give me a 6-pack of Bud Light. Forget the Bud Light. Give me the Budweiser. Pack of Cools. Let's get it on. So that's what they were doing back in those days. Now I would venture to say guys are not hitting up, the Newports, the Marlboros, they're not doing that on the sideline. There could be something else that they partake in. I don't know what that something else might be. But again, there might be something else that they partake in. But you don't really see that on the sidelines. I mean, come on. What are we talking about? So that's what I'm talking about, guys not taking care of themselves. They at least took care of themselves. They take better care of themselves now. I'm not saying guys don't drink, don't smoke whatever. I'm not saying they don't do those kinds of things. They just don't do it on the sideline. So if they were doing that on the sideline, then my goodness, what do you think they were doing off the field? I mean, you know the stories of baseball players. I mean, after the game, I mean, a lot of games were during the day. They get done with a game, they're going out till 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning. And then show up at the baseball park the next day, hungover, get your little beer in you, get your cigarette. Let's go another 9 innings. Let's go. Let's get it on. So guys take better care of themselves today, clearly. All right? Clearly. That's just the facts. Those are just facts. Now, the technology side of baseball, that's easy to see. First, they lowered the mound. Bob Gibson, not only was he throwing 1,000,000 miles an hour, he was throwing at people's heads coming downhill. That's not fair. I mean, it just wasn't fair. You know? Now, there is something to be said that the higher mound, and maybe guys, they just didn't care about arms back then, because guys used to pitch. If you were a starting pitcher, you went 9 innings. There was no middle relief guy. There was no closer. You started the game, you finished it. And that's just the way it was. And if you threw until your arm fell off, well, then your arm just fell off. It's, you know. But so that was the first technical thing. They lowered the mound. Everybody knows that the baseball is a lot harder than what it was. Everyone knows it. That's not up for debate. Baseball was like I don't know what it was. But why do you think that the baseball, I mean, the people hit so many home runs? The ball is harder. Okay? And whatever they're doing with bats, you can't tell me. And again, I don't make bats. I mean, I'm from Louisville, and Louisville Slugger is there. But you don't think bats are made differently now and are shaped differently now to hit balls harder and further than what they were 40 years ago? 30, even 10 years ago. It's technology. You don't see, I mean, there's a few bigger baseball players, and guys are in better shape. I want to make that clear. Being in shape doesn't have anything to do with the technology or the evolution side. Evolution is more the guys are just bigger, not that they're in better shape, because nobody took care of themselves back in the 60s, the 70s. Guys weren't out lifting weights. They do that now. But that's more, I mean, you could say that's a technology thing, but it's more of just an evolution. Guys are just bigger, and they take care of themselves on top of that. So to me, those two things aren't together. Now let's move back into the baseball, the technology. I'm sorry to sidetrack. I apologize. Now, getting back into it, I mean, baseball, I mean, it's easy to see. Baseball is technology. The ball, the bats, the mound. I mean, they bring in the fences so people can hit more home runs. And that's not really a technology thing, but why do they do that? They want more home runs. They want more offense because baseball is boring, and it is. So baseball is a technology-driven sport. It's not an evolution sport where you just see these behemoths out there that are running so much faster. Heck, you can say guys don't run as much as what they did in the 80s. I mean, it was common now in the 80s. I mean, you'd have 5, 6 guys that had 60, 70 stolen bases. I mean, Vince Coleman made a career by just tapping the ball, and you knew if he got on, he was going to be at second because he was going to steal, and you couldn't stop him. Ricky Henderson, the same way. Tim Raines, the same way. I mean, those guys, I mean, again, it was guys always had so. How many times, when was the last time you even heard about a guy stealing 40 bases in a season? So the evolution as far as being bigger, faster, stronger, the bigger part, guys hitting more home runs, but we also know that that's technology based. That's technology, let's just call it benefited in quotations. They're getting the benefit of technology because of again, in quotes, supplements that they have been taking in baseball. the supplements. So let's go that route. Don't want to call any names. That's a different conversation, different day. So baseball is technology driven. Not really up for debate on that one. I mean, I guess you could get into some tech. I mean, if you want to, you can talk about it, but I'm not going to listen to it. So, because I think it's nonsense. So let's move on. Now, basketball. Basketball, again, one of the big ones. You think about basketball. Okay, guys, first of all, are they bigger? I don't know. I mean, they're not taller. I mean, there's always been guys that were taller. Now, there's more tall guys that play basketball just because of where we get basketball players from. You know, we get them from overseas, you know, and so there's that. But they've always had tall guys. I mean, heck, basketball used to be a big man game. So there's always been tall guys playing basketball. It just was. There were tall guys that played basketball. Now, the skill level is a little different. And I had this conversation the other day. It's like the skill level. I mean, we used to think that there were the power forwards, things of that nature. There were certain guys that were out on a court that just couldn't play. It wasn't that they couldn't play, it's didn't get the opportunity. I mean, basically in the pros, they used to have these things that were called goons. You know, guys that were just out there that they didn't shoot. They were out there to rebound, play defense, and just be physical with people. That was their job. That was literally their job. But they wouldn't have been in the NBA if they couldn't score. I mean, you didn't hear a guy going to the NBA. Oh, he averaged 3 in college. You know, he's a 3-point scorer in college. And now we're just going to bring him to the NBA and he's going to do the same thing. That's not how it works. I mean, guys were scoring points. So they just didn't get the opportunity because the game was played differently. So there's always been these big guys in basketball, big physical guys in basketball. You know, now, do guys jump higher? Yes. Is it ridiculous how high some of these guys jump? Yes. That's an evolution thing. That's an evolution thing. I mean, guys are jumping out of this gym. They jump. They turn around and do a 360, put the ball between their legs, hide it behind their shirt, wave at the crowd, spin up and down, do 3 somersaults, and then dunk. They do that all in the air now. I saw that the other day on YouTube. Couldn't believe it. So guys are jumping out of the gym. Okay? That's an evolution thing. You can't say that they weren't. That it's not. You just can't say that. Different aspect of it, the shooting and things of that. Well, that's more of a technical thing. Shooting is a technical aspect. So the game is just played differently. So is it more physical today? Absolutely not. I mean, my goodness, you can't even breathe on anybody now and not get a foul called. In the 80s, and I know I've talked about this before, I'm not saying that the defense was so much better, because that is up for debate, whether the defense was better. But more physical, it was. I mean, you've seen those tapes. You've seen it. You've seen guys drive the lane, come out, 30 stitches. Just a foul. Another guy drives in the lane, clothesline, lands on the back of his neck. Just a foul. Go to the line. Today, you might get arrested. I mean, they may arrest you. Seriously. For doing that. They just might arrest you. Assault. I mean, it was assault back then, too. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that guys are doing a whole lot. I mean, it was assault back then. But if you do it today, they're going to arrest you for the assault. Back then, hey, you know, you didn't die. I mean, if you died, we might throw him out of the game, but you didn't die, so we're not throwing him out of the game. So get up and go to the line. Shut it up. You know, that's how the game was played. Evolution doesn't have anything to do with that. Technology doesn't have anything to do with that. Basketball is played differently. So when people try to come off and say that, well, it's an evolution thing. Yeah, guys jump and they're bigger or they're not bigger. I'm sorry. Guys are jumping higher, but they're not bigger than what they were back then. They're just not. Positions are played differently and things of that nature, but guys are not bigger. They're not bigger. They're faster, maybe, just because the game is way more up and down. Although in the 60s, if you go check some box scores, guys were getting up and down the court. I mean, they were scoring 125, 130 points a night. I mean, they weren't just, people think that because, they were walking it up, and how the game was played. They weren't just walking the ball up. They were getting that ball up and down the court, scoring. Now, it may have been a lack of defense is why teams were scoring. So evolution in basketball, I have these arguments every single day. The game is just played different. The skill of players, they're allowed to do more. I don't believe that guys are more skilled. I just believe that they're allowed to do more because it's played differently. If the game was played that way back then, guys could do it. You don't know that they couldn't score. You don't know what they could do with the ball. But just the game was just played different. So evolution, when it comes to evolution or technology. Now, granted, again, bigger, faster, stronger. I mean, guys, they're physically bigger, but the game, I mean, they're still tall people. They were still big people in basketball. Athletically, guys are more athletic. Maybe that's a better word to use. They're more athletic. But they're not bigger. I mean, they're not bigger. They're more athletic. So the game is played differently because they're more athletic. And I'm a basketball guy, and I'm biased, and I will admit, and it's a conversation that I'll get into when we're done with the sports part of it. But I am a firm believer in the technology and why. Last one, football. Football is one that, okay, guys are bigger, faster, stronger that play football. I mean, if you say that they're not, then you shouldn't ever talk about sports the rest of your natural born life. I mean, that's just a fact. Guys are bigger, faster, stronger than what they were, However, the game has also had technology advances. I mean, you could start with equipment alone. Then you could stay in the equipment, including a football, Tom Brady. So just those kind of technology advances alone, the shots that guys can take, and deliver, but again, that goes into bigger, faster, stronger. Football is a huge part of evolution. I mean, you got 350-pound defensive linemen running sub 5 flat 40s. Chasing running backs down from behind. You have that. You didn't see those kinds of things. First of all, because those kinds of people didn't play. They didn't have 350-pound running backs or defensive linemen in the 80s or in the 70s. I mean, the football is an evolution dream when it comes to talking, is it evolution or technology? However, when it comes to the eras and which era was best, doesn't it mean that guys could have played from previous eras to now? And what I'm talking about is, which era was best? Because the evolution and the technology portion of it, which era was the best era? And that's why I bring this all back in full circle. Because I'm a firm believer that guys that played yesteryear could have played today with the technology advances. And what I mean by that is, we're just going to go into the assumption that all professional athletes work hard. They have God-given ability, but they have nurtured that God-given ability into, working hard and being the best that they possibly can. So we're just going to assume that all of them do that. to an extent. So that means that whatever their craft is, they're going to work hard on that specific craft to be better. Well, then there you go. So what do you mean? You don't think if the guys in the 50s and the 60s and the 70s didn't have the ability to lift weights and take the supplements that guys do today, you don't think that those guys would be a little bit bigger, faster, stronger? Now, I'm not saying because over time, that's just what guys do. They get bigger, faster, stronger. But you don't think those guys would be bigger? You don't think they'd be a little faster, a little stronger with the supplements they take? Have more muscle mass? You don't believe that? Come on. I mean, that's if you don't believe that, again, eliminate yourself from talking sports because you're an idiot. You are a complete idiot. And then you got the people that say, oh, Brian, you can't give those guys anything. They are what they are. Yeah, we understand they are what they are, idiot. The point that everybody is making is if you're going to play by a certain rule, what rules are you playing by? You're saying this guy who never had the access to lift weights or take supplements or have the proper coaching, training to get his body the way that it could be, he has to be this versus this guy that gets all of that. Well, that's not fair, is it? So then, and I have other people that say, well, then you can't compare the eras because of that. I don't believe that. You can compare the eras if you allow for guys the benefit of the doubt of doing what they would have access today. First of all, we all want to compare eras. That makes it more fun. If you don't, then what fun is it? Second of all, just have a conversation and you can do it. But again, you have to have a realistic conversation. The conversation can't just be, well, you don't have anything and it's just this and that. Oh my God, you just get on my nerves with the dumb talk. Have a realistic conversation, people. Let's make it fun. The next aspect of it is, are you sure that a guy from the 50s and 60s couldn't play today? I mean, Jim Brown played 6'2", 230 pounds. He was super fast, and there's no room for him to play running back in the NFL today. There's no room for that, right? 6'2", 230 pounds. I mean, how big is Adrian Peterson again? So there's no room for that. I'm just like, are you kidding me? Oh, well, he wouldn't do today. Well, hold on. Why wouldn't he do that today? Well, it's not because he wasn't fast enough or big enough or tall enough. And it's because he played back when and I admit, I mean, he did. He played back when he was the biggest guy on the field. I mean, linemen were his size. But you don't think that Jim Brown would be able to play today? I mean, do you know how dumb that sounds? A guy that's 6'2", 230 pounds couldn't play running back because he played in the 50s and 60s. He couldn't play today. I just, oh my goodness. It's just so mind-boggling how dumb people can be when we start talking about some of this stuff. That they just dig in and won't look at reason. You have to be reasonable. Now, I know that's part of fans and fanatics, and and we're crazy. Don't get me wrong. All of us are crazy. Fanatic. I know that's my favorite word. Fanatic. But it's just the truth, man. It is literally just the truth. We're crazy. But you got to be willing to have some of these realistic conversations about, especially when we're talking about different eras. It comes down to evolution and it comes down to technology. And you can't tell me that guys from yesteryear couldn't play today, couldn't be just as successful. You are an idiot. I had a guy tell me the other day that Michael Jordan just wouldn't be any good. He just wouldn't be what he was. Well, what proof do you have of that? Because he didn't dribble between his legs 8 times, spin around, put the ball behind his back 11 times, jump up and shoot a hook shot between his legs. My whole thing about Michael Jordan, because people try to say, well, the game's evolved and he's not a great ball handler. All he did was, you know what? I need to go from A to B. And I don't have to spin 16 times, put the ball between my legs 11 times, and do circles around myself to go from A to B. I can just dribble from A to B, and I can shoot my shot at B, period. You don't have to do all those things. If guys just concentrated on going from A to B now, I know what the argument, oh, the guys are so much better. They play so much better. No, they don't. You can't even touch a guy now. They don't play any defense now. I mean, defense is a lost art now in basketball. All you have to do is dribble, draw anywhere, and guys will back up. You got about 3 guys in the league that can guard a perimeter player now. 3. To give me this nonsense of Michael Jordan, I mean, he averaged 30, he averaged 40. With the way the rules are bent for offensive players now, and all the fouls that he would draw, he would average 40 points a game. And he wasn't even a good 3-point shooter. Telling me DeMar DeRozan can average 24, 25 points a game, and Michael Jordan wouldn't average 40? You guys are out of your mind. Please stop talking. Don't say those things anymore. Whew. It's just mind-boggling that you're allowed to say it. We got to stand up, people. We got to fight this crazy. We got to fight it. We got to do it together. Fight the fanatic. Better yet, fight the crazy fanatic, the crazy-ass fanatic. We got to fight that. Whew. Because they're out there, and it's an epidemic, people. We got to step on that neck, okay? Keep them down. Because they are getting in the way. This eras thing, and it's a huge topic. I mean, everybody wants to know which era is the best. To me, I don't know which era the best is. I don't even care, to be honest with you. Now, I guess I shouldn't say I don't care. My personal preference, I like when they used to, I mean, if they didn't kill you, you just went to the line. The 80s and 90s basketball, I love it. Football, I love football now. Although they have made it ridiculous when it comes to some of these helmet-to-helmet rules. I want guys to be safe. I don't want anybody to be hurt. But they make it ridiculous now, especially when you touch a quarterback's head, you touch his helmet, it's a 15-yard penalty. Yeah, I know you didn't swing. I know the guy blocked you into it and you were falling, but you touched his helmet. You touched his face mask. That's roughing the passer. I'm like, oh my gosh, this is ridiculous now. So the evolution, people, evolution and technology, I'm more on the technology side. I think that don't get me wrong, there's a place for both. And as I broke down in specific sports, evolution is more part of it. But when it comes to overall, technology beats all. You know, technology means more. You can do more. I mean, baseball, that should tell you everything you need to know. Thank you, guys. Again, just keep the feedback is what we love. The feedback literally is what we love having. Keep sending it. Keep shooting it our way. That to us is what keeps driving us to do it, is the feedback that we've been getting. You know, it's been fun reading a lot of the stuff. So keep it up. Keep sending it to us. We'll keep putting these out there because, again, we're having a ton of fun. Thank you for listening in, and we will catch you on the next episode. In the words of my brother Robert, aloha. Let's Talk Ball is produced by myself, Brian Hanley, and Darren Howard at Mach 1 Productions. Editing, music, intro, graphic design, cover art are also done by our Director of Operations, Darren Howard at Mach 1 Productions. Research, fact-checking by myself, Brian Hanley. The Let's Talk Ball podcast is brought to you by the LTB Network.